Okay, so here comes the box office top 10 at 47. Cassius X becoming Ali.
Which is a very interesting documentary about Cassius Clay becoming Muhammad Ali and the point at which he was Cassius X and what that was, you know, the identity change, what that was all about. And it intertwines sports stuff with cultural critique. I thought it was fascinating, not least because watching Muhammad Ali at all on screen is absolutely mesmerising. But this I thought it was a really, really watchable, entertaining documentary.
What I should have said before, I mentioned number 47, was the streamers that we've been talking about, The Fall of the House of Usher.
Yeah.
Mark Ramsey says it was superb. Smart Cookie says, I thought the first episode was lacking excitement and rather plodding.
Ooh.
If that's one of the better episodes, it doesn't say much for the rest of it. Mike Flanagan seems to be attracting the pretentious Shishi Brigade, and it's ruining horror.
Pretentious Shishi?
Yes.
What does that? I don't know what that means.
Shishi Brigade, like fancy pants, I think.
Oh,
Like
okay.
I suppose it's kind of like fashionable and flimsy.
Okay, all right.
That's what I'm thinking.
Bourgeois?
Bourgeois is being suggested.
Okay.
Arriviste.
Oh, Arriviste. Oh, dear.
Mr. Housey, what a brilliant series this is. I binged it over 2 nights this week. We'll be starting it again. A high camp, gothic, tragic, horrific critique of US deregulated, rapacious capitalism. Every one of the Ushers got what they deserve. Bit of a spoiler then.
Well, it is called The Fall of the House of Usher.
Yeah, but they could just have like fallen.
No, because
Tripped
they've all fallen at the beginning, and he is saying, I am now going to tell you how all this happened.
Is it Carla Gugino?
Yeah, I presume
Anyway,
so.
is perfect as the angel of death. And Simon Clark says Fall of the House of Usher is outstanding. Anyway, so that was, thank you very much for getting
I'd be interested to
to
know what you think of this, because I don't think it's as good as Midnight Mass, because it's Mike Flanagan who made Midnight Mass, which you absolutely loved. It is necessarily more episodic because of the way the storytelling, but I would like to know what you think of
I need to finish Lioness first.
Okay,
and
fine.
then when I finish that, I will join you there.
Cool.
And then Cassius X done 47. Number 12, Mean Streets 50th anniversary, the 4K restoration.
I mean, what this reminds us is that 1973 was an extraordinary year, because we've had so many 50th anniversary whether it goes, Enter the Dragon and Don't Look Now is coming up and Exorcist and Mean Streets. What a year to be alive that was.
UK chart position 11, nowhere in the States, Friday the 13th. Is that exactly the same?
Again, Friday the 13th is being reissued. Actually, what is there an anniversary Friday? Anyway, Friday the 13th is back. Oh, I know it was because there was a Friday the 13th. I interviewed Sean Cunningham, who was the director of this for Scream and Scream Again, which is the documentary I did for Channel 4 during what you referred to as my wilderness years and what I referred to as my documentary years. And anyway, it's the film that brought the Grindhouse into the mainstream and made every big studio realise that what Mario Bava had been doing with Bay of Blood was in fact saleable to a mainstream multiplex audience.
The number 10 position is occupied by Frozen.
Yeah, there will be some new films soon, but
not at the moment.
Not at the moment.
Number 9. Here, number 42 in the States is The Miracle Club. Now, go on.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, Ben did a very good interview with Laura Linney on last week's show. If you haven't had a chance to listen to it. She gave very, very good account of herself, and I like the film. I think it has more bite and more darkness than perhaps that poster and title suggests.
And on the subject of that, Ed Harrison says, "Dear bloke on the right and man on the left.
Yes.
Long-term listener, oft unpublished emailer here with a question which has been bugging me for years. Ed, I have to say, me too.
Okay.
Why do most film posters list the cast in completely different order to the way they appear in the picture? I often see someone in a film poster and think, who is that? But then it's complete potluck on whether I can work it out from the cast listing above or below. The latest example, which has really ground my gears, is for The Miracle Club. The picture, which which you have, you just look at the film poster, which has the cast and a yellow bus in the background, a big yellow kind of orange poster. The picture, see attached, clearly shows 4 women.
Yes.
Yet the list of cast above not only has the names in a completely different order, but actually lists 3 women and 1 man. So one of these ladies is anonymous, or maybe not even in the film. Who knows about the bloke? I realise the order that the talent are listed in on the poster matters. That's before we get to those who deserve an and. But how hard would it be, really, for the PR folk taking or creating the pictures to get them to match the actor's billing? Yeah. Is there a really good reason for this, or is it just laziness? Keep up the good work, and down with mismatched publicity shots.
There is a really good reason for it, and I understand the annoyance. So basically, as you've said, the order that the cast are listed in is contractual and is arranged and thrashed out by lawyers. So the order that it appears in, which always preferences left to right, this is kind of the moment at which I should leap in with the Towering Inferno story, which is right but up, left but so, but so that is contractual. And then when they do the publicity image, they don't do the publicity image in conjunction with that contractual organ. They just do it in conjunction with whatever they think the publicity image is. So when you then stick the two of them together, they are mismatched because they are not created together. And yes, it wouldn't be rocket science to try and make it work. But if you think about the Miracle Club, the image of it has to have Laura Linney front and center.
Yes.
But because contractually her name has to appear first from left to right, you'd have to have her on the left of the image.
But how mad to take Ed's point, 4 women on the poster.
I know. And then
only 3 are mentioned and a bloke who is not on the poster.
Yeah, and that will be because Anne Stephen Ray is a draw. And I know, believe me, it makes no sense at all. But it does, weirdly, it does make sense, but it is entirely contractual.
It makes sense to lawyers and no one else.
It makes sense to lawyers and showbiz agents.
Number 8 here, number 6 in the States, A Haunting in Venice.
Which I like, and, I enjoy Kenneth Branagh enjoying Poirot. Yeah, it's still doing very well. Those movies are successful.
Number 7 here, number 3 in the States is Saw X.
Which is one of the better Saw movies. You haven't seen any of them.
No.
And you're not going to?
No, absolutely not.
No, okay, well, but if you're going to make a Saw movie, this is the one to make.
Number 6 here and nowhere in the States, The Great Escaper.
I sent you this, a news story in which Michael Caine has announced that he is retiring from acting.
Yes.
And the reason I sent it to you was because it was 3 years ago.
A previous incarnation of this show, which announced that Michael Caine
was retiring from acting. But we didn't announce it.
He did. And then
he was
afterwards,
literally on the show, and he said, "I can't make any more movies. I'm retiring from acting." Right. And you said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, because I'm not in the best possible health, and I can't do it anymore. So I'm retiring from acting."
Yeah.
And then when the show went out, he immediately issued a retraction saying, "I'm not retiring." You go, "Well,
I'm not retiring." He says, "No, I'm not retiring."
Well, we didn't say you were, Sir Michael.
Not a lot of people know that.
Not a lot of people. You were the person who said it. So
we wouldn't have done it without him.
And on the evidence of Great Escaper, I don't, who knows? Maybe he'll do another. He's very good in Great Escaper. It's a lovely performance.
He's retired like Elton John has retired on a regular basis.
That's right. Didn't Frank Sinatra do like 3 farewell tours?
Number 5 here, number 4 in the States is The Creator,
which I like. I think it has flaws, but the flaws just add to what I like about it. And you really enjoyed it as well. And go back and listen to our your interview with the director, which is fantastic.
Number 4 here, not charted in America, is Some Other Hood.
So Some Other Hood is the sequel to Another Hood, which is the Adam Deacon sort of pastiche of the Hood movies, kidulthood, adulthood. As I said when I was reviewing it yesterday, it's absolutely not aimed at me. And there are things about it that really don't land as far as I'm concerned. But there are also, I laughed 3 or 4 times, and you kind of have to admire the energy of it. And there it is. It's found its audience. It's gone in at number 4.
Number 3, number 1 in America is The Exorcist Believer. Okay, fine. Number 2 here, number 2 in the States, Paw Patrol, the mighty movie.
Which is an improvement on the previous Paw Patrol movie. It's got a terrific score by Peanut Toprak. It is absolutely candy-coloured. We've said earlier on that Angel Delight tastes of the colour pink.
Yes.
Well, this tastes of the colour blah.
Okay,
it's just like, wow.
It's like your mouth is tingling with whatever it is.
Your whole head is tingling.
And the UK number 1 is Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour.
Which is now officially the highest grossing concert film of all time. Filmed, as far as I understand, over 3 shows in Inglewood. And what happened was Taylor Swift was negotiating with the major studios about doing this. And the major studios weren't playing ball or were procrastinating. So she ended up, or her company ended up doing a deal directly with theatres, I think it was with AMC in America, to distribute direct to the theatres. This was kind of like this was like breaking all the rules. And it is now the biggest selling concert film of all time, which means that all those studios are probably, to quote Rowan Atkinson, I bet you're all feeling like a right bunch of Charlies. This is now going to be the new benchmark. Do you remember when was it Live Nation, when Madonna signed to... Like, suddenly it was when the big shift became that actually playing concerts was the thing that you made money from, and your album sales were saying, not the other way round. So this feels on industrial, because it's done so well, like a sea change. So essentially the concert, it's 10 acts, 10 studio albums over, what is it, best part of 2 decades, like 17 years. I think there's costume changes, there's musical style changes, there's choreography, there's absolutely sweeping, insane camera work. There are banging tunes, some of which I know. Now, what I know about Taylor Swift wouldn't fill the back of a postage stamp because I'm not, up with pop. But the actual concert, carry on. Suddenly a thing went off in my head and I immediately stopped talking. So the actual concert apparently was over 3 hours. The film has got it down. They've dropped some songs. They've tightened the transitions. It's now 169 minutes long. Here's what I can tell you from the perspective of somebody at whom this is not aimed.
Yes.
It's really slick. It looks like they were amazing concerts. The performances are just, I mean, when you see a show and you go, okay, yeah, that's how you would do it. There's so much. There is so much in there. And I was sitting there watching it thinking, there is... I now kind of understand why it is that Taylor Swift fans, did they call them Swifties, love her so much, because you kind of go, yeah, it's the full-on experience. And you remember when I was talking about Dance Craze, that Dance Craze basically kind of puts you on stage with the bands. Well, of course, Dance Craze is my music, so that's the period that I live in. But this, it is a cinematic whirlwind rush of an experience of a show that looks like it was extraordinary. The songs are catchy, the show is energetic, the atmosphere is triumphant. She's clearly a genius.
I took Child 2 to see Taylor Swift.
Oh, in the flesh?
Yeah.
And how was it?
About a decade ago.
Right.
And more. And you could tell she was just in a kind of coming out of country,
right,
becoming more mainstream, and she was an incredible performer. And everyone was screaming at her.
Yeah.
All the girls were screaming at her, And
are you a fan?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, but again, I'm not waiting for the next release to drop.
No.
But here's Dr. Fiona Norton.
Okay.
She's got a few things to say. Long-term listener, half a Vanguardista. Me and my husband share a subscription. Is this okay? Repeat emergency mailer. I went to see Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour, in the delightful Lighthouse Cinema in Wellington, New Zealand, over the weekend.
Excellent.
Unfortunately, Taylor is not bringing her show to New Zealand, so the only way I would have gotten to see the show would have been to go to Australia, which is prohibitively expensive for many people.
Yeah, I don't think she brought it to Cornwall either.
Seeing the show in the cinema was the next best thing, and it was a great show, and a good time was had by all. As a loud and proud feminist, it was an amazing experience to see a woman almost exactly the same age as me, absolutely at the top of her game, living her best life and empowered to put on the show that she wanted to.
Yeah.
I have a question about filmmaking and distribution that I hope Mark can answer.
Okay.
I've heard that this film was made and distributed by Taylor's company exclusively, and that this has caused something of a ruckus in the industry. How much truth is there to this? Is what she has done that revolutionary? Up with Maori representation in Parliament, down with uninspiring white men called Chris. Sincerely yours, Fiona, colonial commoner, PhD in analytical chemistry, top 1% of listeners to Taylor Swift on Spotify 2022.
As far as I understand the story, and bear in mind I'm not an industry insider, what I know about the story is what I read from Screen International and Variety. Yes, the negotiations were with the major studios. They were stalling. They weren't happening. So her company just went directly to, and I believe it's AMC Theatres, and they did and it broke the mold because it shouldn't have worked, but it did. And it just felt like one of those moments in which everybody will now look back at it and go, well, that happened. And as I said, the studios that weren't playing ball ended up with egg on face.
No, we don't want to sign the Beatles.
No, exactly. It was
all that kind of stuff. Harry Potter, that's not going to catch on.
It's never going to work,
No, pass on that one.
Thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as we enjoyed making it. While you're here, check out all the other videos because they're cool too, aren't they?
Yeah, and if you want to keep up to date with everything Kermode and Mayo's take, then check out our social channels.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
I mean, I would. I have done.
Excellent.